Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tell you if this game's worth your time and bandwidth. Today's game is World War Z Aftermath. The definitive edition of a movie-based co-op shooter. Is World War Z Aftermath still worth playing? Let's find out. World War Z Aftermath is a combo of both the base game, World War Z, and the significant Aftermath expansion, which did such things as add first-person mode and a bunch of new content to augment its Left 4 Dead style gameplay. And Left 4 Dead is by far the best descriptor here. While the game does have a competitive multiplayer mode, the core of the content is co-op missions, where up to 4 zombie hunters tromp through various locales around the world to gun down someone dead. The game flow is almost identical to that previously mentioned game with the 4 in it. You start each mission with a starter, primary, and side weapon, and move through levels fighting both fodder zombies as well as a host of specialty ones. Those range from zombies that can pin you, requiring a teammate's help, fill an area with a toxic cloud, charge and knock your team over, explode, and more. They aren't nearly as visually distinct as Left 4 Dead, but do function similarly. Several times per mission, you'll have a big event requiring you to defend a location, which allows for a small bit of base defense as you'll scavenge defense items like razor wire, turrets, or floor traps, and decide where to place them. Additionally, the swarm, when it attacks, has a few unique mechanics as well. First, the game can spawn an insane number of zombies at once, think in the hundreds, which is visually pretty impressive. Additionally, the zombies often need to climb over fences or walls in order to get to you and form a zombie pyramid, much like in the movie nobody saw. And if you kill zombies at the bottom of the pyramid, it'll collapse, slowing their attack. Outside of missions, you'll find a fairly robust class and weapon-based progression system. There's 7 classes in co-op, and they all have skill trees to unlock as you level that class up. Using weapons will also grant those weapons XP, where you can use money to upgrade them too, which increases their stats as well as adding perks. There is a boatload of missions here, enough to keep you busy for a long time, as well as a fairly challenging horde mode should you wish to just murder. The shooting itself feels solid, and the high number of weapons and enemies you use them on keeps things fresh. And honestly, not much more to say about World War Z. This is a near copy-paste of the core of Left 4 Dead, just with an added progression and class system to give you something to grind out. So what do I like about World War Z? Well, the amount of content here is staggering, particularly the number and variety, particularly the number of missions and the large variety of locales. And that's in addition to the massive arsenal. The game has more than enough content to merit its many hours of co-op fun. And speaking of co-op, this game is really fun in co-op. I mean, most games are fun in co-op, but this one really scratched my group's itch for a simple but fun zombie murder game, and with solid shooting and good co-op mechanics, it excels with friends. And lastly, I found the classes and builds engaging, and as they level up, has some significantly impactful abilities that can change team comps and allow for some fun build crafting. When it comes to the bad, playing solo is a nightmare because the AI bots are completely brain dead. Apparently they were too smart at first and they nerfed them, so now they just barely function, even less so considering the bugs. And speaking of those bugs, this game has more than a few. Getting stuck in floors, AI getting trapped or just standing around glitching, Shark G enemies launching you through ceilings. If you play with bots, expect at least one major bug per match. And lastly, the progression is fun, but the grind is way slower than it should be, especially for money, where you don't get enough to upgrade weapons as often as you'd like, and leveling your class is very slow early on until you can tackle those higher difficulties. As you know, right, games sharing on 3-point scale, must play, maybe consider, and don't bother. And honestly, World War Z Aftermath has no right to be as competent as it is, considering it's a movie tie-in. While it has its share of issues for a mid-budget game, and playing solo is an exercise in frustration, with a group of friends, this game is a ton of exciting zombie-fueled shooty mayhem that I think a lot of people overlooked. If you got burned by Back 4 Blood and don't mind a little jank, World War Z is absolutely worth checking out with some buddies for some Zed murdering fun. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Have you played World War Z? Are you going to give it a shot now? I do think if you have some friends, absolutely worth checking out, but I want to know what you think in the comments. And regardless, go out there and give this one a look.